Let's get more analysis on this from Ahmed Mitchell, who is National Deputy Director of Council on American-Islamic Relations. He joins me now live from Philadelphia. Great to have you here with us on TRT World. We'll come to the ceasefire agreement and tensions at the Israeli-Lebanese border. But first, I want to address the shocking comments made by U.S. President Donald Trump about Gaza. He says, quote unquote, clean out the whole thing. I think there's a word that could describe what he has said. It's called ethnic cleansing.
Yeah, no, it's the very definition of ethnic cleansing if it were to happen. Look, the Israeli government has been internally engaged in ethnic cleansing within Gaza by making much of the strip uninhabitable. But to actually move Palestinians completely out of Gaza into East or Jordan would be ethnic cleansing. Now, here's the thing, though. President Trump says a lot of things and shares a lot of ideas off the top of his head. Doesn't mean he's serious about pursuing it. So it's not clear whether or not this is just an offhanded thought, whether he seriously thinks this could happen. If he thinks it's a real idea, I don't know what he's thinking, because Egypt has made it clear they're never going to let that happen. Jordan has made it clear they're not going to let that happen. And the Palestinian people have no intention of leaving their land behind so that Israel can take it over, occupy it, and settle it. So that is a complete non-starter. It's a crazy idea. It's not going to happen, God willing. President Trump has got to get serious. If he wants to pursue peace in the Middle East, he's got to accept that he's going to have to put pressure on the Israeli government to end the occupation. That is the only way towards peace.
And I think what he needs to do is to play a balancing act here. But what he's doing right now is siding more with the Israeli side.
Well, verbally, yes. But it's also important to note that he did force Netanyahu to accept a ceasefire that Netanyahu absolutely did not want to accept. And so we'll have to really look at what President Trump does. Again, the man says all sorts of stuff and tweets all sorts of stuff. We're going to look at what he actually does. And because it's just completely implausible, it's impossible, the idea that Palestinians are going to leave Gaza to another country, I'm not that worried about it at this point. It's just not plausible for it to occur. What does concern me is that statements like this give the Israeli government the feeling that, oh, well, we've got a blank check. If this is what's on President Trump's mind, we can do whatever we want to get away with it. And that would be very dangerous, because clearly they cannot be trusted to uphold agreements. Clearly they want to kill as many people as they can get away with. And when the United States is not going to hold their feet to the fire, you see people getting killed, like what happened in Lebanon today.
And Edward, what do you make of this extension of the Lebanon-Israel ceasefire agreement?
Well, look, it's up to the governments to decide what they want to do. But as an outsider, I would say it's ridiculous. The Israeli government pledged to pull out of southern Lebanon, which they are illegally occupying by today. They murdered at least 20 people, including a Lebanese soldier, without any cause whatsoever. Can you imagine if the Lebanese army had killed 22 Israeli civilians and an Israeli soldier? A new war would break out. And so it just goes to show you the problem that we have in the Middle East is that Muslim Arab countries are divided. They're economically, financially, militarily weak, dependent on Western nations. And that leaves the Israelis to do whatever they want when they want. It's just not an acceptable long-term status quo. And so it's a shame that the Israeli government will continue to occupy southern Lebanon. It's wrong. It has to stop, and it should have stopped today.
Right. And Edward, if you look at the entire region, we are seeing Israel expanding its occupation, not just in Palestine, but also in Syria and now in Lebanon. So what do you think is Israel's end game here?
Well, look, I would say pride comes before the fall. I think the Israeli government feels they can do whatever they want because of the technological superiority they have as a result of American support. But I would just note that there have been a lot of countries that thought they were on top of the world and could do whatever they want, and it didn't end well for them. And so I think the Israeli government, if they want to become rational actors, have to realize that occupying Syria and Lebanon and Gaza and the West Bank is impractical in the long term. They are creating new generations of people who will just load their government, and there will not be any peace. For there to be peace, there must be justice. And the Israeli government just must stop messing with people, leave people alone, and let people live in freedom. Until that happens, I fear we'll see more conflict and chaos and, sadly, violence.
Edward Ahmed Mitchell, thanks very much for joining me here on TRT World. I really appreciate your taking out the time.
Thank you.